Oh, hello.
Recording video.
Sorry, Hayley's just having some challenges, technical
Recording
issues.
video while multitasking with multiple apps.
Oh, that's
May
fine.
result in low. Why send me all that?
How are we?
Hello.
Cheers, Hayley.
Cheers.
Nice to see you back again.
Yeah, it's good.
We have had a little, is the word hiatus, is that the word?
What's that even mean?
I don't know, I'm thinking hiatus hernia now. What's the word? We've had a break. Let's keep it simple.
Yeah, simple is best.
We've been reassessing, hence the theme and topic of this.
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah, that's the right word, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a hernia. Well, it is a hernia. It is not a hernia. We were coming to you on a Tuesday evening at 8:15 p.m. and just a lot of barriers came up.
Yeah.
Diary bookings, commitments, random spooks walking in and out the room while we were doing it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, that was for you here, wasn't it? In the studio.
Every time.
Oh, let's see what happens this time. I'll look out for any spirits walking in.
Do they come out in the day? I don't know.
Don't know.
And we decided that we would. Well, we didn't decide anything. Just organically took a little break, didn't we?
Yeah.
And then we caught up for coffee last week and said, what are we going to do?
Let's reassess.
Let's reassess. Let's bring it back.
Yeah, and it was a good subject to, I think, come back with, because often this happens in life, and I think especially with the energies at the minute with the new moon and spring is here and new beginnings, and it's like you kind of have to have a little bit of time to just reflect and see what's working, what's not working, and reassess some things in all areas of life, I think. And just being able to honour taking that little bit of time to go inwards a little bit and just question whether things are working, or if we're just what's the phrase when you're flogging a dead horse, is it?
Yeah.
When you're just literally just not like it's just not working anymore, but you just carry on and you carry on, and things become really obvious, I find, for me, when it's time to let go of something, or it's time to move on, or it's time to do something a little bit differently. And what I used to do is just carry on doing the same thing, because I'm a Capricorn and I don't like change. Well, hardly anyone likes change.
I'm Capricorn
right?
rising.
Oh yeah. So.
Sorry, can I just pause you a second? Look how good you look in the light on that.
Do I?
On my phone, it's like the light is beaming on
you. Your phone, not so much mine. What's going on?
It might just be the screen on yours rather than the recording.
Yeah, well,
I think it's the screen protector.
Oh yeah, mine's a
buzzing up your camera, but you look at you, just like right in a beam of light there.
Oh,
very nice.
I'll take that.
Sorry, I got a bit distracted. No, carry on, Capricorn.
Interrupt me for that. That's all right. Take that. Yeah, so things will just get really uncomfortable, and then the universe will just send more things my way to be like, Hayley, you got to leave this job, or you got to get out of this relationship. And it becomes obvious, and I'm like pushing it down. I'm like, don't want to look at this yet. But I'm just prolonging it. It's going to happen eventually. We've got to reassess or let go of something eventually, and I think
there's that balance that we were kind of struggling with, was we've got to show up consistently and do the thing and be present, versus actually we're doing the thing, but it's something not quite hitting the mark, but we couldn't put our finger on it, and just organically a stop came.
Yeah.
And so that gave us that time to reflect separately and together. And we thought, actually, what's really nice is to sit together and do this together, rather than, because good old technology, and being separate and on a split screen, and then there were days when we were struggling to hear each other, or you get that, oh, what did you say? Oh, sorry, oh.
Yeah, you got that disconnect, haven't you?
Yeah, and we thought energetically it's nicer to be together.
Yeah, and I got to do like Luke's yoga this morning, which was nice.
Oh, we had a lovely yoga class this morning, didn't
lovely.
We were doing some moon stuff to honour the eclipse today, on the new moon. So I just think, getting together is the best way. We like daytimes, actually. It turns out that works quite nicely for us. Yeah. And what we've also recognised because I do another show like this with Katie, and we get better traction in the daytime, because I think people are listening while they're working, like a podcast listening, rather than in the evening when they're probably watching Netflix, because that's what I do in the evening. So I think that the daytime is good, and people will watch it on a rerun, and I think we just had that time to reassess and think, this is going to be nice.
Yeah, maybe not necessarily have to be a set time and a set day every time, because I don't work well like that as well. I mean, I can do it, but then, I don't know, it's less natural then, I find.
Yeah.
But then is it going to happen if you don't schedule something in as well?
So from my perspective, I don't like routine. That's the reason that I don't do day jobs very well.
Same.
Because I'm like, but I don't feel like it today. You know, but to have some kind of fluidity with it.
Yeah.
I think it's nice.
Stay committed to it, but doesn't have to be a rigid time.
Like a weekly commitment rather than a fixed commitment.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you like? Do you like it, you know, kind of at the same time every week? Do you mind? Do you watch it on replay? Do you watch live? What works for you? So, you know, you can let us know that, because that's really useful information for us as well.
It is.
So what else have you been reassessing?
Oh, let's think. Reassessing the studies. I'm studying at the minute to be a sports massage therapist. A few challenges coming up, and what I used to do, half a job Hayley back in the day, would just give up.
Hayley.
Yeah, just do half a job and then it gets too hard and I'm off. I don't want to be like that anymore, so I've just been reassessing of how better I can tackle that to work with me. And like a lot of people, I think, like yourself, Luke, in like creative mindsets, the ones who love the yoga, and we're tuned into divine energies, or however you want to call it, the creative souls, the ones that have been labelled, or maybe it'd be the black sheep. We're the ones who don't like those routines, right? I find a lot of us don't like those routines.
Into a society that's been engineered for to work for the majority of people, but not all of the people, and we are not all of the people.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like sometimes, I don't know if anyone else has felt like this, but it's felt like the world's kind of broken and I just don't kind of fit in here, and I'm like, what's going on, you know?
I've been on the merry-go-round and be like, I want to get off now.
Yeah, this is hectic sometimes, but I then thought that, oh no, maybe there must be something broken within me, and then you're reassessing all of this. But I think it comes with awareness that actually having acceptance around it's all as it's meant to be. No, it's not perfect, nothing's perfect, and that's okay. So for me, I just find the way I work is I've got little whiteboards now around the house, calendars, planners and things that I can see that are up, that aren't going to get lost in clutter. Sometimes I'll spring clean, get everything nice and tidy and organised, and then I'll start to creep back into old patterns where I'm not so organised. I found myself being a little bit forgetful lately, so I'm like, okay, so how are we going to improve this? And it's baby steps, always for me. Best way is baby steps. I used to try and take on a whole load of shit, and then it just not sustainable. So I'm going to do my best to schedule in time.
You're good at diarising now, right? You use your diary, right?
Not that much. Oh, on my phone, yeah.
Yeah.
I use my phone a lot, for notes and to-do lists. Got loads of to-do lists with the little ticky thing by the side. I'm like, tick, give yourself a pat on the back once you've done that, yes. To cheer yourself on.
I have an ongoing to-do list on my phone.
Yeah.
And I can't live without the diary on the calendar on my phone. Yeah. Everything is in there.
Yeah, they're handy, but what if the phone breaks as well? Sometimes I like to just pen and paper things down.
Oh, you did lose your phone, didn't you?
Exactly, yeah, I was like, floss my right arm. But yeah, I found that, so I'm booking in for a study call to keep me motivated, and then I am also going to block in a set of time, because now I have got more of a schedule with the business and clients from the other job, the disabilities that I work with. So I've got more of a schedule that now I'll have a little block of time where I can use that. Whereas if I've got this whole day, I'm like, I've got the whole day, and then I don't get anything done. Or I get distracted. I start one task and then I'm doing 100 million other things. But that's how I work. But I'm going to schedule in a block of time. Even just put 10 minutes. Do this for 10 minutes, because usually you tell yourself, just clean for 5 or 10 minutes, and then you go on for like an hour or so and everything's clean. But it's overwhelming if you're like, I've got to clean for an hour or two now. You just tell yourself, study 5 minutes, and then I'm in the flow then.
Little and often is a process that I use, and I think certainly from reassessing for myself when I had a career in HR and have a lot of responsibility, a lot of things to do, and the workload sometimes was way overwhelming. And I think that taking a step away from the corporate world and into my own business, what I learned that actually the flow that I was being given was, kind of the 9 to 5 Monday to Friday thing. That's when I'm supposed to be productive, when I'm supposed to do my work.
Yeah.
But that actually doesn't work for me. I'm a little and often person. So, I'll be like, send an email here, do this 2-minute to do thing here, tidy up this little section here, but,
Yeah.
And so you'll catch me, this is a classic me, is I'm always, the one thing that's non-negotiable in my life is I have a long hot bath every morning.
Yeah.
But while I'm in the bath, I'm putting a Facebook post on, or I'm sending some emails or responding to some things, or scheduling some other things. But for me, that's this is a little and often moment. I've got a moment of peace, the kids aren't irritating me, it's early in the morning, I've got a clear head, I'm just gonna squeeze in 10 minutes of work here. And I'm like that. I'll do things like that little and often, and always have that to-do list on the go. But I learned that off the back of coming out of the corporate world, where I'm supposed to be mega productive between 9 and 5. It just doesn't work for me. That's not my natural rhythm, and it sounds like that's not your natural rhythm either.
No, yeah, I like the little and often, and I'll get distracted with different tasks and still be getting stuff done, but it's never the task that I'm supposed to be doing.
No, but the key there is you're still getting something done.
Yeah.
Because you're right, you can get so much that it becomes overwhelming, and then you do nothing.
Yeah.
And then you move into that kind of, well, if there's too much to do, I'm just gonna watch more Netflix or whatever.
Definitely been there. Definitely been there.
Yeah. And you know what, those moments are okay. I don't know if this is a bit of a corporate book, but there's a book called Sumo, which is Shut Up and Move On. Okay. But in that book, they talk about hippo days, where you have those days where you just want to slouch on the sofa under a duvet, stuff your face, and not participate in the world.
Yeah.
And it's okay to have those, but if you can recognise that you're having them consistently, that's the problem. And that's when you kind of need to move out of that state, and that's the shut up and move on. You need to sumo. So the shut up and move on is when you're having those negative conversations in your head, or you're saying it's too much, or I can't. It's just shut up, move on, and do something.
Okay.
Even if it's the little thing.
Take some kind of action.
Whether it's completing a big task on your to-do list or just a small portion of that big task, it's something.
Yeah. The 5-second rule helps me a lot.
Oh, what's that?
The Mel Robbins come up with this.
I thought that's when you drop something on the floor and pick it up and eat it.
Can do. But it motivates you to get up and do something. So they say that your unconscious mind takes, I believe it's 7 to 9 seconds to talk you out of something. So if you have a thought in your mind, I might go to the gym, might go for a run, or might clean, whatever it might be. If 5 seconds passes, your unconscious mind's already going to talk you out of it, because its prime job is just to keep you small and safe and not really doing anything or going anywhere. So it's always going to come up with some kind of excuse, and the ego's always going to come up with, oh no, the weather's not great, is it? You don't want to run in that, or whatever it may be. So if you count down, apparently it has to be down, not up. So like the rocket, like a blast off, 5, 4, 3. And if you're not already up, moving while you're counting down, getting your trainers on, you're probably not going. But for me, I have the thought, and I'm like, no, I will go today at some point. And I do end up always going when I have that thought in the morning.
Or you set an intention almost.
Set the intention, and then I'm like, when it's time, I'm like, okay, now it's time, let's start counting down. But it's good even to help you get out of bed in the morning and stuff. Like, I'm a snoozer. I know they say that you're not meant to.
Oh, I love a snooze.
But I have to wake up. I cannot just open my eyes and get out of bed.
No, my husband does that. I don't get it.
What kind of people? Psychopaths.
Yeah, no, he does that.
I don't understand.
He hits the pillow at night and falls asleep in seconds.
How?
And the moment the alarm clock goes up, he's just like bolt upright and out.
How?
But he always says it's because he was in the military, because in Greece you have to do national service. So he was in the military for a year. Okay. And like, if you didn't maximise your sleep, you didn't sleep. So it's like you just had to fall asleep at the moment that you hit the pillow, and you had to wake up the moment that you had to wake up, because otherwise, there's no sleep.
If only my mind got on board with that as well, if I just let it know, no, I have to sleep now. And it's like, oh yeah, okay, Hayley, let's go sleep.
Yeah, no. Not for me.
No, definitely not.
Cool. So that, I think what, just to summarise where we're at the moment, I think that we took using that word hiatus, and we kind of reassessed, but I guess we have talked a lot about having lots of moments of reassessment in our life.
Yeah.
And I think that it's so easy to live life on this kind of status quo where you just operate on repeat.
Yeah.
And you don't think about that it could be another way. Or you don't think about there could be I can't be any happier until I retire and then I'll have freedom, or or until I win the lottery or whatever. And I think that we just very easily, I'd probably say, it's just a rough statistic, I'd say probably 90% of people just operate on this kind of hamster wheel effectively. And we don't ever stop to think and reassess. And I think it's so vitally important that we, a lot of people only get to it through burnout. I've talked about this a lot before. But how can we prevent having to go through something like a life adversity before we stop and think and reassess and reevaluate?
Yeah, why does it have to always get so bloody painful until we
do it?
Change something? Like, I know they say diamonds are formed under pressure, right? But why do we have to get to that point where we're so much pressure on us? And I've definitely experienced it where it's been burnout and overwhelm, and you have to then...
You're forced to stop.
Yeah.
Why do we take ourselves to that point? So what I think through early life conditioning, as children, we kind of get on this hamster wheel very soon, just in the schooling system as one example. And so as a parent, I think I probably need to work a bit harder on this, but just to try and more consciously allow my children to take a step back and a time out and just have a little think.
Yeah.
Just, kind of get the mind flowing in a sense of what else could be, not what is, but what could be.
Yeah. And not just thinking of those worst case scenarios, but best case too. Because we owe ourselves that, and we're often going in those catastrophizing and getting in our heads about, oh no, but if I do this, that might happen. But what if it all works out?
What's that quote? What if I fall, but what if you fly?
But my darling, what if you fly? I love that one.
Yeah. I saw a quote on Facebook yesterday, or maybe the day before, and it said something along the line. It was like an image of someone putting a social media post up saying, "I got the job." And it had 300-400 likes, and then an image of another post saying I've just gone self-employed, and it had 7 likes. So that's really interesting to me, this conditioning around it's more acceptable, perhaps it's a safety or a security thing or a belief thing, but it's more acceptable and more celebrated to do something that effectively is for someone else, because when you work for someone, it's really for somebody else's benefit at the top of a pyramid. Versus going out alone, and then people are probably more going, well, that's a bit risky, or what are they doing, or that's really interesting to me around, because obviously both being self-employed people who have understood employment and self-employment, and I know that you're doing a hybrid at the moment, but even still your employment is on your own terms. So what are your thoughts around that, about this kind of culture of...
I think it's definitely like what you were saying, how we're programmed to kind of think, and there could be judgment that comes up, or even people that potentially are like, how are they doing that? That's not fair. I want to do that too, but how have they got the courage and guts to be able to do that? And like you said, the security and the safety of knowing that you've got this holiday pay and all these benefits and things.
You're working towards a pension.
Why would anyone risk that and come away from that? But why would you not take a risk?
For me, I'm like, okay, so I could spend the next 30 odd years working my butt off to get myself to retirement and just accept that it's that, but be miserable for all that time for 40 hours a week. Or I could be happier for the time that I've got, and maybe I might not make it to retirement with such a healthy bank balance, but at least I would have been happy for the last however many years.
Exactly.
And for me, the turning point there, when I reassessed my life, was when my dad was diagnosed with motor neuron disease, and then over the period of 2 years of decline, he then died. He used to work 90-hour weeks. He worked a corporate job and was self-employed. And all just to have nice things and to make it to retirement. And he had this grand retirement plan and never made it. Died at 59.
Oh my goodness.
And so for me, that was a massive reassessment point of like,
of
what the F am I doing? Trying to build this corporate career that I'm miserable in, that just fills some CEO's pockets. And yeah, I had a great salary. And I don't, I earned, funnily enough, just did my accounts. I don't know if I told you. I did it, so it's the end of the tax year, so I've just done my accounts for the last tax year. And my salary is like £4,041 for the whole year.
Oh wow.
And I'm like, fuck, I'm living off £4,000 over an entire year, and I've dropped a massive corporate salary for that.
Yeah.
But I've got everything that I need. I've never missed a bill, roof over my head, we go on holidays, we drive nice cars, our children want for nothing. I've just been able to survive on a lot less than I thought, and I'm operating effectively a dream right now. This was my dream, and here I am doing it, and here I am sat at 11 o'clock on a Monday having a cuppa with you and having this chat, and actually, yes, there are stresses that come with that, but God, am I happier than I ever was when I was on the hamster wheel. Yeah,
couldn't agree more. It's not about having all the money and all the things. Like if it means, if your happiness is the one that has to take the hit, and 40-hour weeks just for living for the weekend, for 48 hours to look after the kids, clean, do all the chores, everything.
We'll have 4 weeks holiday a year.
Yeah.
Is it worth it? No. Not for me. Each to their own, right? But I guess what we started this conversation with is that, the majority of people are okay with that, but for us, this is not the people that we are.
No.
But we have taken reassessment and action to correct that. So rather than sitting in that state and moaning about it and being unhappy and miserable, we've taken action to do what we're in alignment with. And actually, the money side of things is, for me, completely irrelevant. That is not, if I were to do this for money, I wouldn't be doing this.
No, it's not about the money, is it? Of course. Would you have any tips for anyone who is kind of in this place right now, who is ready to reassess a few things? Maybe there's some things in their lives that they can see isn't quite working, but it's quite a daunting thing because it might be a big change. It could be a leaving of a job, a relationship, or something that feels quite hard. So the easy option, I suppose, would be just carry on doing it, hope it gets better, or wait for that holiday, or the weekend's coming up soon, and just put it to the back of the mind. But really deep down, they kind of know like something needs to change, but there's a fear there, I suppose. Would you have any advice for someone like that?
Firstly, though, you just said a key phrase, hope it gets better. It won't. Right? And that's not saying that, yes, things won't get better, in its entirety. Of course, life is always going to be highs and lows, so there will be times that it's better, but there will also be times that it's worse. Never strive for hoping something will get better, because regardless of what happens in your workplace, as an example, we have a whole life outside of work, and things will be like this our whole lives, and it would be wrong of anyone to tell you that life's this constant uphill trajectory. You will always face challenges. That's part of humanity. It's part of our human experience. So it will get better? No, right? So don't hold out that hope that it will get better. But what you can do is take steps to make yourself feel better on a daily basis, to feel happier, more in alignment, more like your purpose is starting to be fulfilled, like you feel a worthiness and a wholeness in what you do rather than emptiness in what you do. Because if you say to someone, if you won the lottery, would you go back to work tomorrow? I guarantee the majority of people are like, no. So then why are you there? Because if I won the lottery, I would be doing this tomorrow.
Yeah, same.
Right? So don't put yourself through something just in the hope that it's going to get better.
Yeah. And a lot of people are doing it for a means to an end, right?
I mean, yeah.
And then you're counting down the hours, wishing away our lives.
Yeah. And that it'll get better might, in your mind, be retirement. You might not make it. So take action, even if it's just small steps, to do something that brings you more in alignment with what you feel good about. Because if you can feel good in little moments, when the bad stuff happens, you'll still have an inner worth and like an inner feel good, knowing that there's an element of your life that you're in control of that fulfills you regardless of the other shit that's happening in the world.
Yeah.
But also, if you're quite financially risk averse, which clearly I'm not, but if you are risk averse financially, what Hayley is doing is a wonderful option. So you work, but you work on your own terms, and you have an income based on your own terms, but through a company, right?
Yeah, that's the disability job. Yeah.
Yeah. But that, to a level, fulfills you financially, right?
Yeah.
And then around that, so you started with a element of financial security, but financial security that you're in control of because you pick and choose when you work.
Yeah.
And then you can then do all of the other stuff that really fulfills you, feels like your life purpose around that.
Yeah.
So you found flexible employment that you're in control of and married that with doing the thing that you actually want to do. Right?
Yeah. And it took time to build up. I've now got a few clients in this one, and I work with autistic kids and adults and learning difficulties and things like that. And at first I was telling Luke about this a few weeks ago, and you see certain clients and it may not be the right one for you, and you kind of got to hold out for the one that it feels right. And if you're in that rush, like normally if we quit a job, you're like, oh, I have to get a job immediately, need money, and it's that desperate energy, and we're not going to attract the right thing from that place. So I'm quite glad I held out a little bit, or gave people chances, and then kind of took a step back, reassessed, and was like, no, this one's not for me. And then closing the door fully gives an option for a new door then to be opened, and I've just been attracting the most beautiful people and clients into my life now, and it made me realise, okay, yeah, that was the right thing.
Because your first client was a bit iffy, right?
Yeah.
And you said to me, oh, I'm not sure about this one, but it was you've been waiting a couple of months. And actually you say it took a long time, but really it's been months, not years.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
But, you waited a couple of months, you finally got your first client, and then you kind of felt that you had to have that one, because that was the only offer that you had as such. But the moment
crickets before that, wasn't it?
Yeah, but the moment that you closed the door on that one, like you say, you ended up with like 3 more clients that were far more in alignment with you.
Yeah, definitely.
So there is that element, and I think that's a trust. That's like a trust in the universe thing. And the other thing that I will say about money, although, for example, my business isn't, as I've said, isn't making me a lot of money at the moment, don't assume that money only comes from one source. Because I have other sources of income that I could never have imagined or expected, that I never planned for. Just as an example, my eldest daughter is eligible for adoption allowance, which we didn't know when we adopted her. And actually, due to some of her additional needs, we end up getting an adoption allowance for her, which then kind of supplements my lack of income from this business. So there are always other sources of income that, it doesn't have to be lottery winnings, but I'm constantly amazed by how money appears in my life, and that I make it through every month when I think I'm like by the skin of my teeth, or I've had to find 600 quid out of my back pocket just to keep the doors open on this place, And
that's trust as well.
But it always comes. And as I say, I've never missed a bill. We've got nice things. Our children want for nothing. So actually, money does just come if you are open to that, and do not limit yourself to one source or the belief of one source.
Yeah. And I think wealth as well, isn't it? People think of money when you say wealth, but wealth is so much more than that. A wealth of love, really. I mean, I choose love every time. Obviously, need money to be able to live and things, but I've always been okay. I feel like the universe has always provided for me, and the minute I start to get skeptical on that and question things, that's when it goes wrong, because I've lost my trust. But when you just get that back, when you start to trust, it is always okay, and it always works out. But yeah, wealth is different. I used to be quite money motivated, and I've had jobs where similar to you, where I've earned loads. Then when I first went to Australia and I did a sales job, door knocking. Imagine me, I was having bloody panic attacks on the door when I first did it. But I was competitive. I'm still a little bit competitive, but I was very competitive. And there was another girl on the team, and I was like, I have to just at least beat this girl. Ended up being top seller for most of the weeks, and I earned would have been like $8,000 for 2 weeks work once. And I remember being on holiday in Thailand, and like you got paid every week, so there was like your base allowance and then like your next commission, and it was like $100 a sale for these when we were swapping over people's electricity, and like $8,000 hits your bank account, and I'm there on a beach in Thailand like, is this really my life right now? And it was great. It allowed me to travel all over. It allowed me to come home to England a few times from there and travel around here, and I'm glad that I used that money for experiences and not things. I think I would have really, really regretted it if I didn't use them for experiences. But yeah, and traffic control in one of the highest paid jobs in the world. But again, it was a means to an end, and you'd go in and it's like, this isn't what I really want to do. I loved it at times, but you know that it's like just a means to an end.
The other thing is, like you say, it's good for maybe a short term, but actually you got quite unwell and hospitalised, didn't you, from that door-to-door job?
Yeah, well...
So the universe, kind of gave you a little nudge of like, it's nice to have the money, but this is not good for you.
No, yeah. Well, that was probably my own fault, because I was a bit shy. It was like the first day on my own doing the door knocking, and I needed the toilet, and there was no toilets around, and I called the manager, and he was like, I'm like 2 hours away, and I was like, I'm going to literally pee myself, and he was like, just ask someone to go in their house, and I was just too shy. I was like, can't do that, bloody hell. And I just kept it in, so I got urine infection, kidney infection, blood poisoning. Didn't realise holding in your wee could be so serious, but I was hospitalised for 3 weeks for septicemia just from that. So I'll never hold my wee in again, never.
No, but what, So
if you see me on the side of the road...
squat behind a bush.
Squat! You know I was desperate. Yeah.
Yeah,
geez.
but I mean, again, a little... kind of hint from the universe there. It's like, actually from a longevity perspective, it's not worth the money.
No.
It's not worth the money.
Because it comes at a cost.
Yeah, it always comes at a cost.
Yeah.
But it's about, so I guess back to your question, what are my tips, is little. Like, what can you do that's little that will start bringing you more towards alignment? If you're not like feet first like me. Like, just little bits.
Yeah.
And re-engineering your life to allow those little bits to happen.
Yeah. So like baby changes, baby steps.
The first it starts with, though, is reassessing.
Yeah.
Actually looking at, do I really want what I've got?
And I think that can be the hard part, actually, because it can be quite confronting.
Yeah.
So maybe if you had a partner in your life, or a friend, someone like-minded to discuss things with, or if you haven't got that, getting that journal out and mind mapping a few things, something just to make the process a little bit less daunting. Maybe a nice hot chocolate, some kind of treat there to be like, let's get this done, and just sit back and think about what can be changed here, because it can be a little bit scary, can't it, even to just be truthful with yourself of how I'm feeling about this, because often I'd just suppress it all and be like, no, this is the way it is, and this is how it's got to be, and we've just got to keep going, move forward, tunnel vision, and it's just...
But exactly what you said about we both said about how we now operate, where we do set ourselves little targets, or do things little and often, or set intentions at the beginning of the day.
Yeah.
It's about that, isn't it? It's about, actually, I don't have to change the whole thing. But if I change something little, and then I change another little thing, and then another little thing, until eventually the whole picture falls into place, right?
And I think people are starting to realise the importance of those little changes. We often think we need to make these big radical changes when it's actually the small ones that are the ones that matter the most.
Even if your commitment to yourself is to leave work at 5 and not 6 or 7, because the expectation is for you to stay on, even if you can be stubborn enough to do that, that's going to massively impact your life. You're going to get like 2 or 3 hours back a day.
Yeah.
You know, I was frowned upon often in the workplace for doing that, but I'm like, actually, I like my life outside of work. Thank you very much.
Yeah, work-life balance has got to be.
But a little thing, you know, or you honour yourself your lunch break, because so many people work through lunch. You honour yourself that lunch break. Little things, one at a time, until big things seem more approachable.
So it's probably an obvious answer to this question, but could you ever go back?
No.
I think once you go off and start
you realise how good it
is.
is. Like, you know, it's not easy. We've already discussed that. It's not easy, but it's better from my perspective and your perspective. For us, it works better.
Yeah.
Do you remember? It was probably around this time last year. I had a bit of a wobble and applied for a job at the cinema.
Did you?
But I was like, I'm not going back to corporate world.
Yeah.
Like, hell no. But I could probably do a cinema job because, you know, low pressure, I can binge eat popcorn and, you know, watch free movies. I was like, oh, I can do that. And I had an interview and I was like, oh, I'm sorry, actually, I don't think I want to go back to work. But, you know, it was tempting.
Yeah.
But I guess even in that, there was still a compromise. You know, I was like, well, if I'm going to go back to work, I'm not going back corporate.
Yeah.
I already know I can live off less money, so why not just get a minimum wage job?
Yeah. I don't like working for someone else.
No, I mean...
Unless they're a decent person. The guy who runs the company who I work through for the disabilities, even though I'm self-employed and it's through him, he's just an absolute amazing person, but not everyone's lucky enough to have that. Most CEOs and bosses and things are in their ego and they're power driven and
on the hamster wheel.
So
I've experienced this so many times where I've had a wonderful boss and then that boss has left and a new one's come in and they've been far less wonderful. And it completely changes everything. It doesn't matter what you do and how much you love what you do. If the people around you aren't in alignment with it, ain't going to work either.
No.
So again, do you want to be where you are with the people that you are doing the thing that you're doing, or do you want to take small action steps towards something else? Because if you won the lottery tomorrow, if you're going to stay where you are, even though you've won the lottery, you know you're on the right path.
Yeah, I like that.
If you want to leave once you win the lottery, then you need to get off that path. In my opinion.
And I think daily reassessing is good, even though I'm not saying I do this daily, far from it. But
who practices what they preach?
I give advice, but I don't take it. But like, yeah, just at the end of the day, or if you're in bed or whatever, and you're just like, how did I actually feel today throughout the day?
If I won the lottery today, would have I stayed there?
That's a good one, to be fair. But yeah, just checking in with your emotions of the day, and if we're miserable most of the day, then that's a bit of a clue there, right? Isn't it? Yeah, and like you said, if you're noticing people around you who are out of alignment, that's a clue as well. If we're around people and they're making us feel good and we're bouncing off each other, I'm not saying that's realistic to have that all the time, but if you're just miserable every day, then what's the point?
What are you doing?
You're just surviving, just existing.
Yeah.
And I know I was just sick of existing in the world and surviving and struggling along the path and being dragged along rather than letting go and surrendering and following the signs and the flow and the intuition.
Because no matter how much money you've got, you're still going to struggle.
Yeah, money doesn't buy happiness, right?
No.
That well-known saying. But
That's
I think sometimes we've got to, sometimes we've got to have it, right? Sometimes you've got to buy that big fancy car or whatever and have all that money to realise, oh, okay, yeah, they were right about when they said that thing about money doesn't buy happiness, but I needed to experience it for myself, right?
It can buy an easier life for sure, but actually what's the cost of that? If the cost of that easier life or nicer things is working 80-hour weeks, then actually is it happiness?
Yeah.
Are you content? If you won the lottery tomorrow, would you go back? Anyway, on that note, Quit your job.
And blame him.
Luke said.
When it all goes tits up and we have mental breakdowns, come to Luke. He'll sort you out.
I still have them too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it still happens.
Yeah, they do.
That's what I mean.
Let
It's
it
going to
get
happen.
messy.
It's going to happen regardless.
Yeah, let it get messy sometimes. I
Yeah.
think it's the judgment and the shaming of it.
Yeah.
That's come up a lot recently as well, like clearing a lot of shame recently I'm feeling. I think that holds people back so much. But yeah, just let yourself be human, let all the emotion come up and let it flow.
Maybe
it out.
next time we talk about shame. Good topic. Great. All right.
Yeah, that would be good.
On that note, next time, don't talk about shame.
Okay,
That's a great
cool.
topic. All right. Well, thank you so much. It was lovely to be back.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. And so at some point next week, we'll see you again.
Yeah. Thanks so much for joining, or if you're catching the replay, and we'll see you again soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.